Man, is it creepy. Especially from what's ahead. Welcome back to another chapter of Koherence. Last time, Kenshi and Aiko were practicing at the Sky Temple, along with Fujin, Ashura, Gerard, and Goro, as they formed their own band and performed the number that Aiko had chosen in order to not only counteract the Matokan drums with the ceremony coming up in less than 3 days, but also to give hope and empower the Shaolin's hearts. And it hasn't been easy. Everyone just kept on reviewing the song over and over again, and they have less than 3 days to learn it. Thankfully, though, it was a familiar song. They just need to learn it with the separate cues, and also not only dissect the song itself, but also unite their cues without any distractions. So, Aiko is pretty much the director, Fujin is gonna be the vocalist, Kenshi is the keyboardist, Ermac is the keytar, aka King Gerard, Ashura is the bassist, and Goro is the percussionist, or the drummer. And most of them haven't played their instruments in like months because of their duties. So, good luck to them. Just some notes here before continuation 6. Usually I'd see Fujin as Rocky's newest mentor Tony, as you all know. He's the younger god of Raiden, so it may not always act as serious as him. When I was looking up intel of the trip to Montana, it never mentioned the airtime aside from the date being around September 1991. It was definitely one hell of a year, with the tribal media and not just the start of the 16-bit war. The thing is, I seem to be the only one who's affected like my OC. You'll see in my Deadly Alliance fic and other works. I won't spoil the song yet, that would probably end until the next, maybe last chapter. Most of the combatants I had to make up since no one seemed to help any. And besides, no one mentioned it anywhere. I kind of figured the Sky Temple being close to the heavens can have access to all time zones, with Raiden watching over Earth much like Kami or Dende would in their Lookout in Dragon Ball Z. Maybe I am tension sensitive, prone to meltdowns or anxiety. Perhaps this is the connection, and they seem to be irresistible, especially when embracing them during the Dark Side War roleplay. Actually, I took an excerpt from that. Aiko woke up inside the shared bedchamber. There were less than 24 hours left until the hot dance of the Matokan, and she knew in her heart that it's going to take all her energy to conjure inner peace to the Shaolin and herself. She couldn't wait for Kung Lao, Raiden, Liu, and Nightwolf to return, and she hoped they won't be consumed like she was so long ago. She still wondered how and why she was the only one being tension-sensitive and all. She hardly noticed the tremors pulsating from her heart gem in the topmost drawer. Out of curiosity and intrigue, she slowly took it out. She held it in both hands, even when she sat back on the mattress. Aiko was actually growing entranced as her own heart began to slow down, her pupils dilating, her eyes getting heavy as she looked down on her energy source. She laid it on her lap and began to tap the mattress rhythmically, following the lulling performance. Her mind drifted, and it made her have that urge to be one with the drums, and whoever's playing them. It must have been the Matokan, or perhaps the Mikiba, and she hopes that her close family would follow them. This is what she was chosen for. She zoned out as she beat harder and cross-legged. She was in a fog, forgetting the upcoming performance, and rather let herself be enthralled. Even the underside began to swell, and she wished to be a full-fledged tribeswoman taking the Shaolin along. to no longer resist and fear their temptations. She was so deep in her thrall that she hardly noticed the sound of the drums being muffled, and even her heart gem dissolved at its core to what looked like a blurry hologram of herself. Is that you, Aiko? Her same voice knocked her out of the tribal reverie. She couldn't believe she was actually looking at herself, although it wasn't entirely her, as she had on gray skin, wearing war paint around her eyes, which looked as dark as her own blood-red top. Even the gray and crimson headdress was startling. Was she really a part of a tribe after all? Yeah, I'm you, you're me, what's going on? It's just a glitch. I zoned out just as you did, like as if our subconsciousness must have met. I was drumming too. Oh, okay, it's just a glitch. That explains it, the lively Aiko replied sarcastically, hardly noticing her doppelganger's heart gem as black as her own soul. No, look, I'm more familiar about this than you are, see? I came from the same timeline, but it isn't alike at all. Where I'm from, I've seen this happen before. When reality is disrupted like this, two timelines start to blend together. I'm from another paradox, but I'm in the same year as you are. It's still March 1996. It is? But you're actually wearing tribal attire. You're even wearing a headdress, and where is this, the Netherrealm? The altered Aiko's eyes gleamed as she smiled. Yes, I belong here. I am now one of the Revenants, and I govern this realm with my lovers, my chieftain Liu Kang, and the significant other from the living, Kung Lao. Hold on, you have both? Not as your Shaolin siblings? They are with me, Aiko. In this time paradox. Oh. They are with me, Aiko. In this time paradox, Liu Kang killed me, and I was converted to his ranks. Where's Shinnok? He is powerless. He was once beheaded by Raiden. The soft door belonged to a male, and in walked the Dark Emperor himself. He bowed low. Praise be Aiko. Liu Kang? She still recognized him despite the black crimson and fiery orange headdress with a pair of piercing horns and the long manes. Yes, dear Aiko. Unlike you, she no longer fears the Makiba drums. We embrace them and use them as our strength. You had mastered a tremendous gift, and you must never shy away from them. It is a part of who you are. Wait, what are you trying to tell me? That I should join the dark side? And become like the Matoka? No, Aiko. I'm telling you that you must accept the foreboding part of yourself. Aiko has shown me this fascinating technique. You must join us, if you wish. Shinnok has seen great potential in you. I had seen him do the same, as did you and Kung Lao. It is not the omnipotence that makes it unfathomable. It is how you use it. A god named Darkseid persuaded me to accept and embrace my evil prowess, once again, and you must do the same. No, she can't join us, but we could still tempt her. If we do talk too long, the two dimensions may just end up swapping, and we won't want that to happen. So you can just hide it away so the transmission would fade, although we shall be looking forward to the upcoming Matokan ceremony. They are a part of us too. The living counterpart was just speechless. Anyway, don't fear them. Let yourself be embraced by them, instead of wasting your strength and time resisting them. They are part of who you are, like Chieftain said. So, go back to whatever you're doing. I'm practicing on a number to counteract with the ceremony. It is best to use it. I watched your... Oh, wait. It is best to use it. I watched your Raiden do the same, to use both the dark and the light sides of himself. Thus he never slayed me. You will see in time. Anyway, bye now. Turned it off as if it were a switch. The living cardiokinetics heart faded the illusion before she hastily shut the drawer and plopped on her mattress. She tried to process what in the Netherrealm just transpired. A glitch? 2 timelines merging. That's impossible. That never happened. I would never succumb to the darkness, just like I did with Shinnok. But how does she know all this? It just isn't like me. Embracing the darkness and the tribal drums like that. Never again, even with the Makiba. You actually made a mistake, Aiko, Fujin stated back near the Sky Temple. China is 13 hours ahead of the U.S.'s East Coast, not 8. I monitored and compared our differences between China and from where you're from. 13? Yeah, if the Matokan should start at 7, we would be 13 hours ahead. Thus they pick up the number at their time if we were to do it at 6 p.m. Tonight. Tonight? I thought you said it wouldn't matter in the heavens. Still, we must plan accordingly. There's no more time to waste. Fujin ushered her to join with the rest of their bandmates, which currently were missing Gerard and Goro. 'Tis currently 11 a.m. in Chinese time, which means it's still in the wee hours of the morning at the Matokan territory. We must proceed to 7 hours ahead. Wait, Fujin. I just saw myself saying that I need to embrace this as part of myself, my weakness. Indeed you should. You've been connected to this since you were 4 years old, and it's been inseparable from your psyche ever since. Use it well to motivate you, and use your coherence. Do it for the Shaolin, and leave no more distractions. Commander to his musical troops to work, and it was a bit trickier without the drummer and the guitarist. Luckily though, courtesy of Kenshi, he projected the full squad's cues, which seemed to ease their stress, and strummed as if they were still there. An hour later, Goro and Gerard showed up, though only as themselves since Ashura kept a lookout on their instruments. With the blind man's same projection, each entertainer mastered their own part to play. In an intermission, Kenshi stated to do the same to avoid any outside meddling, just as he did negate Aiko's mind from her astrophobia, as she escorted the monks to safety by Dark Raiden and Zombie Lu's assaults. We might want to take some glorious announcement before our encore, Ashura suggested. At the other side of Earthrealm, it was just what Fujin speculated. Darkness hung still over the open reservation, and only the thunder god Raiden was still awake, and eagerly awaiting the hot dance with several hours. The Matoka tribe has certainly changed ever since Shao Kahn's invasion. Nevertheless, they have been the best and the most gifted aboriginals in all of Earthrealm. Nightwolf and his people greatly care about the existence of other realms. However, ever since they had prepared to take in a young one, his family consisted of a documentarist. They began to have a change of heart. They started to evolve into modern customs and learned how to adapt. They bridged the gulf between modernization and tradition, and the kid seems greatly inspired by Nightwolf and Kiba. So too, he wants to be a fighter like Liu Kang and Kung Lao. The latter nearly was reminded of his nephew, Jin. He sighed and paused. Brother, It feels like eons despite only being 4 days. I pray the Shaolin are faring well in your guidance. Took out one of Aiko's heart gems, gazed into it. The item momentarily shone the Sky Temple occupied by various warriors. Fujin is at the Sky Temple? Ashura, Aiko, and Kenshi are with him as well. Even a Shokan. Small Jim's vision sharpened and he made out more details. That's Prince Goro and King Gerard of Edenia. They are playing different instruments. What does this bode? They must be desperate to counter the Matokan's palpitations. She must have held on to her own heart. I hope they will be prepared in the hours to come. Perhaps I should pay a visit. Well, we drew the gem and teleported. There was a flash of lightning and thunderous crash. The wing god just made the number take a halt before the key change. Alright, stop. Goro, the drums sound a little sloppy. Tighten up the screws. He blushed from the aerokinetic, went to the photokinetic. Ashura? Damn! What's with the stiffness playing the bass? You must stay loose. You nervous? Yes. It's just... I hadn't played the bass in so long since I was being hunted by the Brotherhood of Shadow, but I never actually played for a live audience before. It is nerve-wracking, I'll give you that, but we won't necessarily see them. It's just going to be us, and whoever possesses each of Aiko's hearts would be the ones to witness it. Especially the Shaolin, and perhaps my brother if he and his disciples still hold them. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck the plateau, making most of the spectators startle. Everyone, including Aiko, figured it belonged to a storm cloud. Fujin, we should abort! No! I see someone emerge from the lightning. Brother? He just slumped his arms while holding the staff, and the group went to him, while Goro looked up for a second before he continued to adjust the bolts. The cardiokinetic simply just hugged him tightly with a smile, and the god followed. I appreciate the warm welcome. I wish circumstances were less critical. The Matoka are about to make their last-minute preparations for the hot dance in several hours. Is the ceremony supposed to start at 7 in the morning or 9? 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. They will commence the dance itself, although you must be ready for any of the warm-ups. It will take a while before the performance. Making your own, I see. Yes, brother. We are planning to make a couple riveting numbers to not only protect us from going astray, but for the Shaolin as well. How are they, Fujin? They have been discussing of their plight. Lord Raiden, on how meditation has affected a lot of them with negative side effects. Yes, the dark night of the soul. They will need all the light they can possibly harness. Their demons could even outrival any treatment from the Jinsei, and they no longer accept enlightenment. Liu Kang has grown very concerned. Aiko's heart is still pure. She has been pining for Kung Lao lately, but she is still strong. She even learned how to use Koherence. Has she now? Indeed, she'll be assembled to emitting positive energy to those who wield her heart gems. The remaining Shaolin have the majority of them, as do you, Nightwolf, and the champions? We do. Our arrangements have been made for the ritual. Are you all prepared mentally for your recuperating rite? Unlike her cohorts, Aiko didn't respond. Raiden... The ball is in you and Fujin's court now. I will be taking a portal and escort the remaining participants. Liu Kang and Kung Lao shall also be mingled within the drum line. Even they had grown fascinated, while Nightwolf and Kiba would join as well. I shall accompany them close by, so your hearts will be mixed in with the crowd. Aiko, focus on your objective and use the beats to our advantage. Ashura and I could only be our shields. Unfortunately. Good luck, fellow musicians. Restore balance with the Shaolin, and never wind up being mixed in with the Matoka. We have our own agenda, for the time being. Lead them well, Fujin, and may we be successful. Damn, where was I? Alright. Seems that everyone is being melted by this get-together. I hardly know anything of the Matokans and the Mikiba's power. So, this is actually a battle. More so a battle of wills. Quite right, Prince Goro. I too know very little of the Mikiba and their many Earthrealm descendants. Their power carries a great distance and enormous tension. I think we shall keep Aiko's heart on our person, sad to say. But it's the only way to emit our own energy to those who will receive it. The heart both gives and receives. I think Brother would keep his away. Yet still, even if they are immortal, their magnitude could rival us gods sometimes. I shall signal you all when the time is right. We will only have a few more hours remaining. Be prepared. For once, everyone was in both dread and eagerness, like the everlasting clashing extremes of both dark and light, or even perhaps the heart and the mind. These last few hours gave everyone enough time to hang out with their loved ones before their big break. Fujin and Aiko discussed with the White Lotus to prepare her heart gems for the corresponding events. She swore for her compatriots both near and far to never be dissuaded, and it was just enough for a hearty meal with Jin and his mom. Gerard surprised the Edenian royals and encouraged Sindel to prep her own gem for the number, whereas Goro did the same as he alerted Shiva and others in the resistance. Kenshi noted to Hanzo of his agenda, and the former wraith wished him luck, especially for the Shaolin. Baby Takeda let out some irritated cries, as he also felt the tension in what seemed to be hanging over the majority of Earthrealm. Even Ashura was beginning to sense the lingering storm, which felt as if it was diminishing her light aura and giving her some worry as whether or not her own aura would be potent enough. As a former demon with the Brotherhood of Shadow, she should know. The Shaolin, Jin, Sindel, Raiden, Kung Lao, Liu Kang, Nightwolf, and even the Shirai infant each held a portion of Aiko's life energy, although it was risky since the quartet intermixed with the Matokan can make the other spectators vulnerable. Although at times Aiko actually heard her original gem emitting sound waves as soon as she returned to Fujin, who was awaiting her near the Shaolin stronghold. They hardly noticed their other allies march into the desolated camp. The vision reminded her of Fujin's words, as being unsuspecting moths being attracted to the dazzling dangerous flickers of fire. The display reminded her of the warning from her darker self, in which Fujin was puzzled. The sight and sound made her heart race, trying to fight off the temptation. The wind god distracted her. Aiko, it is time. Gerard opened a neon green portal to escort Goro through and onto the Sky Palace. Fujin just touched down with his signature F-Zero funnel, gently descending his own kase. Everyone was accounted for, and each Advent musician felt the same angst. Alright, gang, we must focus on the task at hand. The Shaolin, as well as other watchers, depend on our top-notch performance. Let's give them the greatest otherworldly concert they'd ever seen, and use our hearts to guide and empower us. Let's get rocking! For the Shaolin, Kenshi declared. Then they all made a hand pile before breaking. Ashura noted, It has begun. I hear the Matokan drums inviting everyone. This is only the summons, Ashura. They're just warming up, Raiden's kid brother explained. Still, our hearts must be our anchors to our minds buoys. Take up assembly positions. Aiko, stay with me, and we must stay the course. From place to place, everyone kept a keen eye and ear for the oncoming performance at the Sky Temple they'd seen, although they also heard murmurs from the drums of the east. The latter seemed to give them the most attention, even the numerous members of the Shaolin who were awed and distracted by the involvement of their closest comrades, that being the quartet. The sextet also noticed the sonokinesis in their allies coming to them, which made the band a bit unnerved on how to deal with them. Raiden, Liu Kang, and Kung Lao wandered the slowest, as if they were the last three. Nightwolf and Kiba were already present inside the largest teepee where the chief and the lastborn were applying paint on the latter's face. Fujin stood upright like Sonya ready for combat. The distant gems were about a foot away to avoid any strays being caught in the assembly as they prepped. It wasn't audible, but they could still overhear the steady beats. Aiko prayed that her mortal friends shan't succumb to the entrancement like she always did. Come on, fortunate one, anxious for his emergence, Fujin, by what seemed to be a minute or two. He raised an arm and sharply dropped it. The drum's pace began to pick up like a sudden gale, and the Matokan began to chant while Kung Lao played a nearby massive bongo as if he was born to do it. The shaman seemed to have led the ceremony with the elders. Raiden and Liu stood at the sidelines. Let's do it! As if there was an interference on a TV antenna, the hearts belonging to the faraway audience activated and brightened. Aiko and Fujin were the first to announce. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been through the darkness. We've been through the light. We've went across all realms. And you know, Fujin, the best place to be is here. The best thing to use is with both ends. And the best time to be is now. And all we can say is... There's an extended silence that stretched on before they shouted in unison, Let's rock! They could have sworn they heard a roaring audience, as if they actually belonged on their own rock stage. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Kenshi started off the song in C major, and his melody was smooth. Fujin motioned to Ermac, who strummed and hit the keys on his instrument. Goro followed, along with a rapid drum roll. Then Ashura kicked in with the bass in sync with the keyboardist and guitarist. And due to copyrights, I can't really play it, but it's basically the extended version of the Rocky IV theme song, Hearts on Fire, by whoever. When it was time for his cue, Fujin took the front as Aiko danced. So, you can pause here if you want while you listen to it. So, the rhythm picked up, as did the snares and bass drums before Fujin chanted the second verse. And Fujin was leading it. So you could pause here if you want to follow along. The bass silenced some, as did the other instruments, but Kenshi and Ermac still led the bridge. Fujin's voice wasn't the least bit strained. Because, he's a winged god. I'm pretty sure he's a lot more capable of restraining his voice than mortals. Then it seemed the keyboard went quieter as the guitarist headed the number with a lot of its tubular cues since the previous rehearsals. It was one hell of an instrumental break. Goro continued to bang the snares, cymbals, and bass, keeping in time. When the second part followed, Kenshi hit the keys as if encouraging the soul shifter more. After those crazy solos, he died down as the blind swordsman sliced through the air. Then Fujin sang the second chorus as the key changed to D major. So, you can pause here to follow along. So, the middle of the intense number reminded everyone of the fights they'd worked through and won, even the champion's own victories, as if triumphing their greatest adversaries. 'Cause again, it's after the Onaga War, before Armageddon. Ashura actually functioned as the backup with, the chorus with Fujin. So, the former demon followed with in different tones in the last line. Aiko was conducting and signaling the performance in the instrumental break, building up in decibels, as if it was a volcano ready to erupt. They were for sure breaching the legendary climax at the end. She knew this was the perfect melody, not only about coherence, but also as a way to unite most of the benevolent realms, disregarding the Netherrealm and the worlds of chaos and order. Breakthrough! The key changed to around E minor, and the drums, keyboard, guitar, and bass went incredibly wild, as if the air was bursting with incredible sound like a series of fireworks. Aiko then outstretched his arms. Go for it! The number quieted a bit and went more smoother as if going up a slope, not as steep. Then the keyboard picked up again, as if it was only climbing up. Next, Ermac and Goro were joining in, almost muting Ashura's barely noticeable bass. The volume went as high as the stratosphere the sacred temple was beneath. Trumpets were blowing the Rocky theme, even though it belonged to Kenshi. Aiko turned and spread out her arms as if signaling the last note, and the legendary samurai continued, it should be a Ronin, continued to rapidly use the buttons several times, repeating the quick-paced solo before the song finally faded. Aiko stimmed as she cried with ecstasy, as did the Shaolin down below, cheering for the energizing performance. Even those who seemed to have any discomfort or upset extinguished. Even the combatants, along with Goro raising his arms and roaring, followed suit. We did it! We did it, Fujin! No, wait! Stop! Uh-oh, there was something amiss. The combatants silenced, and the Wayne God told them the assembly's going on longer than anticipated. Aiko just whispered in his ear for the backup number. He nodded, then signaled Ashura to lead the secondary song. She strummed her bass, and Kenshi hit the keys in the same note, G major, in a slow rhythm. After 4 beats, Fujin blown on his woodwind instrument, a more attractive melody, and the heroes knew what it belonged to, restoring their dwindling confidence. The song picked up as the trio played, even with the changing notes. As the performance foretoed again, or fortayed, the past tense, Goro tapped on his claves 4 times. Then Ermac strummed his electric guitar with the melody in C. After an iconic tune, the song quieted, and Fujin kept it going. The number repeated the second verse, but Kenshi was the one leading it. Goro just carried on tapping the rhythm with his 4 sticks. The number picked up again at the same intervals as the first, although there was something different as Aiko and Fujin sang in C. And in case you don't know, it's the orchestrated version of We Are the Champions, which you would hear during the epilogue of Return of the Dragon King. It's all there. The cardiokinetic signaled for everyone to sing along. I'm sure you'll not know the words to this, but I changed it to all the realms because, it's not just one world. To quote 007, the world's not enough. The instrumental repeated the chorus and Aiko and Fujin chimed in. Ashura added of the realms with Goro, Kenshi, and Gerard, then everyone sang of the realms. And finally Kenshi and Ermac made the finale before Goro closed with the drum solo. They hardly heard the Shaolin and the rest of the audience cheer louder than they ever did before. Sometimes the uproar was so contagious that the group let out their own. They even noticed the heart gems just ignite, as if storing loads of positive energy from the watchers and others who gave and received it. It even made the quartet at the Matoka snap out of their own trances when they observed Aiko's gems sparkling in conjunction with whistles and cries. Kung Lao received loads of endorphins as his shined, followed by Lu's, Nightwolf's, and Raiden's. What's happening? Lu's and Lao's eyes shrunk from dilation. The Shaolin! Aiko and the others! They saved them! I've never seen her heart so ignited! Nightwolf was amazed, and his people were still so deep into their own number. 'Cause hello, they don't have those heart gems. Alright, the lastborn's adopted. We should go. Raiden stuck up a finger. Not until we say farewell, Kung Lao. Aiko's lover couldn't help but give a warm smile knowing he would see her very shortly, and was eager to exchange tales. Like a broken fever, they felt relieved, and courtesy on being surrounded by the rich endorphins and strength, as if they bathed in the jinsei, they were no longer vulnerable to the tribal influence ever again. It was now almost midnight, and Aiko stayed up later than usual. She was still inside the shared bedchamber, sitting on the deserted mattress and looking down at Lao's cheerful picture of his younger self. The cardiokinetic couldn't help but grin back, still feeling the cool air and stress relief throughout her body as if it was tingling. I wish you were there, Kung Lao. Raiden, Nightwolf, and Liu Kang, too. She lifted his face and kissed it, and was hoping someone would answer her in the extensive silence. She felt slightly disheartened, disbelieving if they would ever return, and be forever bound. She just shut her eyes as if holding back tears or trying to omit bad pangs from her mind. Our work is finished, Aiko. Her eyes shut open, registering that familiar arcane voice. She looked behind and was astonished to whom she saw. Raiden! Her eyes widened, as did her smile. He actually grinned. You have done well, young one. You have finally achieved the art of coherence, and restored inner peace and balance to the hearts of others. The Shaolin and I are proud on what you've done. She was just tongue-tied, flattered by his praise. He was always the truthful and wise one, never doubting him on the days she had known him. She even made a low bow. And there's flash forward. And I forgot to tell him how and why I was always a succumb to them. Months later, after Armageddon, Aiko still wondered in that same room with Jin and Lao why she still had that weakness. Well, to be fair, I was entranced by them at the Matoka ceremony too. I'm pretty sure so was Liu and Nightwolf. I know Raiden wouldn't let us go astray, but still. I understand now how powerful over someone they can be. It wasn't until we saw our hearts light up. I want to be educated by Nightwolf and his people someday. I've been interested in them ever since he showed me when I was young. I also want to be an archer, and they can teach me. They are intriguing. Wait, who's saying this? Oh. They are intriguing. But we must not underestimate their prowess, Jin. I guess the White Lotus was right after all. The Mikiba are our realm's ancestors, just like us with the great Kung Lao, or us humans with primates, or dogs with wolves. This doesn't make much sense. I'm sure you, Kung Lao, must have shared my weakness since those heart melts, even though I don't remember you being affected by the Mikiba, and the Matokans must have been more direct. But I just don't understand. I feel it's more than just hyperfixation. Jinja's sulked as Lao laid an assuring hand on her shoulder. I believe I can answer that, young one. It is more than just your sensitivities. From the open window, an oriental tone was carried by the crisp air. Everyone went agog. Liu Kang! Kung Lao made a kowtow. He just stuck up a finger as he hovered through. Enough, chosen one. The Shaolin are more intrigued than ever from those stunning performances. Nightwolf and the Matoka tribe had settled their differences, and are now close allies with the Shaolin. But I only desire to show you something. You were connected to the irresistible tribal customs. Come with me, and I can take you there. Somehow this made the Kungs fascinated. Show us, Liu Kang. The numbers represented here were actually Hearts on Fire, the extended version, the iconic song from Rocky IV, and We Are the Champions that was rearranged by the Royal Philharmonic, the latter being the finale of my epic based on Deception, The Return of the Dragon King. I'd too forgotten exactly what time the Sesame Street episodes began. They always kept changing it ever since I finally grew out of it by the 2000s and late 90s. Sometimes they'd air it more than once each day, maybe twice, aside from other PBS programs. At least that's how I remembered it. But I couldn't find much intel, so I had to make up the airtime somewhere between 7 and 9 a.m., along with the error involving the Chinese time zone. 'Cause I thought it was 8 hours, but it's actually 13, compared to the East Coast. Also, the AVGN episode, The Berenstein Bears, gave me the most inspiration on the possibilities on the Mandela effect, creating a time paradox, or how it's spelt, or proof of altered dimensions. Ironically, I never cared about the material that much, so I can't say how it's spelt. But how it was pronounced is Steen, not Stain. Maybe it is possible, although I am not a fanatic, though it has happened multiple times, especially in the Mortal Kombat multiverse, which, with DC and all that. So it kind of makes the most sense. As in MK1, they keep saying it's in a parallel universe with Liu's new era. And I'd rather have it in dimensions than time travel. God, I got enough of that. I also took inspiration from unaliving Liu Kang's RP, The Dark Side War, whereas he and I embraced the tribal drums and used them as weapons to empower those waging war onto the Elder Gods. The chieftain and chiefess, along with Liu and Lao, as Aiko's soulmates, were from this, and he was the only one who accepted and made them as a guilty pleasure just as I did. I am so glad for all that. And I had to cut this chapter short since it was dragging on, so stay tuned for the final installment. Until then, this is the Ikran Writer signing out, and I'm so glad to almost be done with this.